After bear breaks into family's home, mother's defense leaves community outraged. Living in a remote area has a certain appeal. Far from the hustle and bustle of cities, there's also a lot more nature and wildlife than you'll find in the suburbs. But while nature can be beautiful, it also comes with certain risks, especially when you live in the woods. You have to take certain precautions about how you interact with the wildlife. Small forest town. When Julie decided to move into the San Bernardino Mountains, a big part of the appeal was living among wildlife. Her family chose to move into a little A-frame cabin in the small town of Forest Falls, California, a wooded community of about 1,100 people, 70 miles east of Los Angeles. Wildlife. Unfortunately, as it happens in so many communities, are built at the edge of where human society meets with nature. Julie was having some problems with the local wildlife. Squirrels on the roof or raccoons in the garbage wouldn't be that big of a deal, but this problem was much worse. Enter the bear. It all began on a Friday night when a 400-pound male bear broke into her garage. The wild animal had apparently smelled something in her garbage worth investigating. Fortunately, Julie was able to chase the bear off with mace before any harm came to her or her family. Additional precaution. Julie decided to move her garbage containers to the inside of the home, removing the incentive for the bear to come around. She hoped that would be all the action necessary to protect herself and her family. Goldilocks. A couple weeks later, Julie came home with her 3 children, ages 5, 6, and 9, to a sort of reversed Goldilocks situation. There in her kitchen was the same bear, standing there as plain as day, after gravely injuring Julie's dog. Back in the car. Julie rushed her children back out of the house and into the car. After she'd moved her children to safety, she called 911 and explained the situation. By the time a game warden arrived at her home, the bear was still nearby, outside the home. The warden used beanbag rounds from her shotgun to drive him back into the woods. Likely to return. More than just a nuisance, this bear had injured her pet and threatened her children. The game warden believed that it was likely the bear would return again, and so issued a permit to Julie, allowing her to kill the dangerous animal. Ideally, Julie would never have a reason or opportunity to use it again. Back again. But the bear had other ideas in mind. Later that very same night, the bear came back and broke into Julie's home again, this time coming in through the bathroom window. Julie was able to chase the bear off, but after this last encounter, she'd had enough. Calling in some help. The next day, Julie called a friend who's a hunter and asked him to keep a watch out for the bear. Just a few days later, the bear popped up again at around 2 a.m., this time charging towards the house. Julie's friend took aim at the bear, fired, and killed him. It's over. Finally, Julie's pets and family were safe. She thought she could put the whole bear scenario behind her. But shortly after the bear had been killed, Julie found herself in the middle of a brand new ordeal. Beloved. It turns out that a number of the residents were shocked to find out that Julie, who had just moved to Forest Falls a couple months ago, had killed the woodland creature. My heart sunk, one neighbor named Alicia said. They're beloved to us up here. Intense backlash. Julie suddenly found herself the subject of a lot of anger and contempt from some of the other members of the small town. I've had death threats and my address posted all over social media, she said. Her mistake. Many people believe that it hadn't been necessary for Julie to kill the bear. I've lived here for 7 years and never had a problem with a bear going in my house, said one neighbor named Penny. She believed that if Julie had better secured her garbage in the first place, there never would have been a dangerous situation. Other ways. Further, Penny believed that Julie could have used a less lethal method of getting rid of the bear, or even simply used avoidance. Go to a neighbor, get in a car. They don't hurt you as long as you leave them alone, Penny said. My son walks home at 2 o'clock in the morning, no problem. Food and fear. The problem with that thinking is Julie had already employed several non-lethal strategies, and the bear kept returning to her home. The bear seemed to have lost its natural fear of humans, which may have been caused by the fact that some people in the community were feeding the wild animals. It's not legal and it's dangerous if something happens, said Andrew Hunan, a fish and wildlife spokesman. Animal lover. Julie would actually characterize herself as an animal lover, citing the fact that she's fostered 15 dogs over the past years. In her eyes, it was just a matter of safety. The bear had already come into my house Friday night and then broke into my kitchen early Saturday morning and attacked my dog, she said. I have 3 babies in the house. Safety first. Hunan agreed with Julie's belief that she'd done the right thing. I understand that people are upset, said Hunan. We don't want to destroy animals unless we have to. The fact is, this bear was inside the residence, had been inside the house several times. People problem. At the end of the day, this is not a bear problem, it's a people problem, Hunan said. When you live on the border of nature and civilization, you have to be considerate of how your actions may affect wildlife. Going forward, it's everyone's responsibility to maintain their trash cans and keep their property cleaned up. She's got supporters. Not all of Forest Fells was upset with Julie. Some of the residents thought the backlash against her was uncalled for. I've had people come by and have real conversations with me, and that gave me a little encouragement and hope for the future, Julie said. Come together. The incident pushed community leaders to hold a special meeting at the Forest Fells Community Center. There, they wanted to discuss how to live safely with wildlife and what precautions to take. Julie planned to attend. I know this community, and when tragedies happen, they usually pull together, she said. I hope this will happen here.